Welcome to the World of Horror Podcast, episode 119. I'm Mom.
And I'm Mac.
This is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Fear is universal, but we are not afraid of subtitles. WoHos! This week, it's Mac's pick of animated films. We reviewed Wendell Wild from the US and Unicorn Wars from France and Spain. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers and language which may not be suitable for all listeners. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi, Mac. How's it going?
Hi, Mom. It's good. Yeah, it's good. It's Sunday. We love a weekend. I've got Alan's parents' kittens are over. They're very cute, but...
Sometimes I wish this was a visual podcast because your expression just there was like volumes of information.
They're, kittens. They're a lot. They're really cute, of course. I hope this doesn't make me sound evil. I feel like younger me would have been aghast to hear this, but like all cats are cats, or all cats are good cats. I love them all. But, it's different when it's not your cat. Like, certain things that cats do that are annoying, it's a little bit more forgivable when it's like, you're mine and I love you. But when it's not, it's kind of like, why are you doing this, you little shit?
Yeah.
So, they knocked over this whole box and I just, looked at them. And I know they can't read anything into my look, but I was just like, you motherfuckers. I'm kind of ready for them to be gone.
How old are they?
6 months old. Yeah. They're so cute. But Branwen, she was a very old cat. She wasn't very curious. She would only occupy a space within a 3-yard radius of me. So if I didn't get into something, she wouldn't get into it. So kittens are not like that.
Right.
You'll just hear a crash from the other room. We have to wall off a bunch of rooms because I'm not even letting them into this room because all my cables are here and whatnot. And yeah, they're just, they're a lot.
Yeah, I told you when I got Wolfie, I almost took her right back. The first week, I was just like, oh my God. And she was maybe 3 months or something.
Oh God.
Yeah. Crazy wild, tearing up the house. And then a lot of cats will like to knock things off of things that, they're famous for that. Yeah. But she would take a drink or something that was on the edge of a table and, just look at me, knock it off. And no, she didn't really look at me, but I was always like, motherfucker, onto carpet. I had carpet in the old place. So yeah. I don't miss that at all, but
yeah, I am interested in getting 2 kittens in the future, but now I'm like, maybe if they were a year old or 2 years old, that'd be fine.
Even 9 months. I got Rosie at 9 months, and I swear she wasn't as crazy.
But I feel like Rosie's not the normal cat. She's very unusual.
Could be. I mean,
I feel like she's not a cat. She's Rosie.
Yeah.
But maybe I feel like maybe if I picked them and I was really I named these cats, they're my own, it would be more like, oh, well, that's my baby that's doing that. But right now it's this is a kitten that is doing it and I'm mad at it.
But your in-laws' cats have really cute names. Can you reveal them?
They are Fred and Ethel. And Alan's dad calls Fred Jr. and Ethel May, which is
God.
Cute.
So cute.
It reminds me of you. How I feel like you always tack on a suffix to a cat's name.
Well, I just usually call everybody Jones.
Yeah. Even Branwen, she's Branwen Jones.
Branwen Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Rosie's Rosie Jones, but I never do call her that.
What, does she have any extra names?
Well, just variations on Rosie, like Rosie Rowe, Rosie Rue, Rosie Rhubarb.
That's the best part about having a pet is just all the nicknames you give them.
But somebody was like, why'd you call her Rosie? I'm like, Because she's an orange cat.
It writes itself.
I almost called her Cayenne. That was the other one I was going to call her, but she's a Rosie for sure.
There was a little girl that I knew when I was a kid that she was always on the playground, and we all hated her ass because she was kind of a bully. But her name was Cayenne.
Mm-hmm.
You can't name a kid after a pepper.
I don't think so.
But
what is this, Blue's Clues?
There are so many names now that are just like, dog, you can't name your kid Paisley. I'm sorry. To any Paisley name enjoyers here, sorry, the name's dumb. That kid has to grow up one day, and they have to be an adult and be like, hello, I'm Paisley. That's a pattern. You gotta name your kid Polka Dot.
Tartan.
Tartan?
Tartan is a pattern. It's like a plaid pattern.
I'm like shocked that somebody would. Have you heard of tartan?
No, I'm saying okay. Like that would be absurd.
Yeah, this is my kid Gingham.
Watch us get a bunch of.
How dare you?
WoHos finally get in touch, and they all have names after patterns of
Paisley would not be a name if like Kinsley and Aisley and all those were not names right now.
Fuck me, I know.
Braden, Jaden, Caden.
But I think we're moving out of the era of everybody being named Madison.
Okay.
Although I do have an Addison, but it's Attisyn. Come on.
Now, okay. My birth name, you did give me an alternate spelling, but I feel like mine was cool.
It was cool, super cool.
It was cool. It was very cool. I feel like some alternate spellings, it's kind of like, come on.
What are you doing?
We know that kid's name is Michael. Why is it spelled like that?
Mikul.
Michael.
Michael.
People do that with Christina too.
Oh yeah. Yep. Actually, when I was I always like wanted a more exotic name. I like Christiana or like or just Maria or just like something that's like, you know, a little bit different. And so when I was like putting together aliases and stuff on like AOL and stuff, I would spell it like Krys, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're a poser.
Oh,
you don't really have a cool spelling.
No, I have the most basic, you know, name with the most basic spelling.
But it's a good name.
I was thinking about this the other day. Remember when do you think Jerry's still a fan?
Of course. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
He definitely is.
He might not be after this comment. Remember how like you told me that your friend Jerry said that I was adorable? And I was like, oh, wow, thanks. That's what I've always wanted to be. But I told that story to somebody else. And they were like, aw, you are adorable. And I'm like, fuck you forever.
Listen, I feel like it's our lot in life as people who are 5'2/5'3".
I'm 5'2". Matt is 5'3".
Don't forget it.
Don't forget it. I always thought I was 5'3". What a blow to learn that I was only 5'2".
The last time I went to the doctor, they measured my height, but they didn't tell me to take off my Birkenstocks. And so they were like, you're 5'4". And I was like, you know what? I'm not, but I'll take it. Why wouldn't they make me take them off?
I don't think an inch here or there really makes that much difference.
It bothers me. Is that real data? It's not. It's fake.
I mean, you know, it's like how they weigh you every time. It's like they don't need to do that. Like
they don't need to tell me either. If I did not look at the scale, do not tell me.
Last time I went in, I did look at the scale, but I have gone on backwards and said, don't tell me the number and don't write it down anywhere that I can see it.
That's good.
And they're like, and they look at me like, why? And I'm like, because I have eating disorders and it will trigger me. And you don't want that. And I don't want that. So just don't do that. Please. Thank you. Yeah. I don't understand how that's like one time I went to a gastro because I was having a lot of problems. And, you know, I wrote down all my diagnoses. And one of them is BED. And they were like, what's that? I'm like, binge eating disorder. Ever heard of it? Gastroenterology office?
I had a psychiatrist once, and I had just realized that I was trans, and I told her, and she was like, "Now, can you explain what that is?" And I was like, "What?
Why?
You're a psychiatrist and you don't know?" Like, oh, well, also, maybe in that moment, be like, "That's awesome," and then Google it after. You know? I don't know. Also, very bizarre. Every doctor's office wants to know my pronouns and then refuses to use them. It's like I had, because they called me for like this pre-op thing, and I know for this doctor they have my pronouns, but this lady must have been like, "This is a procedure involving a uterus," because I heard the hesitation and she went, "Hello, Mr." I could like feel her checking the chart. "Ms. Mackenzie, I was like, "Dog, I heard you say it." Did you think it was a typo? Yes, that's me.
I hope things get better, but I swear to whoever.
I feel like they get a lot, like, in a way, it felt a little bit better before just because less people were cognizant. But now that the information, and now that the issues are being put to the face of a lot of people, then we get more backlash. But then I'm hoping that that's a hump we get over, and then it'll be better.
I hope so. I mean, sometimes it seems like things go really, really fast. Like there's kind of a slow lead up, and then there's like, all of a sudden everybody catches up. Like, trying to think of an example, but I mean, and I hope this is like that, because it's just like I still, a couple of weeks ago I told you about this person who was just like thought that being trans meant bisexual. No. Different categories of
just not even related.
Yeah, like no.
I don't even know, man. Okay. You want to get into it?
I sure do.
First, our first film we will be discussing is Wendell Wild, which you can watch on Netflix. The brief plot synopsis from IMDb is: two scheming demon brothers, Wendell and Wild, enlist the aid of 13-year-old Kat Elliott to summon them to the land of the living. It was directed by Henry Selick, screenplay by Henry Selick and Jordan Peele. It was based on Wendell and Wild, an unpublished book by Henry Selick and Clay McLeod Chapman. It stars Keegan-Michael Key, Jordan Peele, Angela Bassett, Lyric Ross, Ving Rhames, and James Hong. The cinematography is by Peter Sorg, and it was edited by Mandy Hutchings and Jason Hooper. Music by Bruno Coulet. It was released September 11th, 2022 at TIFF, and October 21st, 2022 in the US, and October 28th, 2022 at Netflix. And it has a runtime of 105 minutes. I will say my main complaint about this is I feel like it's a bit too long. I feel like this kind of needed to go through some editing. And another thing, I do not like all of the voice acting in this movie. I feel like some of it is very much, it's not even that there's not enough energy sometimes.
Delroy?
Like, yes! How did you know?
Yeah.
Delroy, like, literally anytime something bad happens, like, dog, you're falling. You're falling through the sky. You're not screaming? Most everybody's good, but he stands out as being like, you guys had to pick anyone else, please. But it should be stated, this is a stop motion movie, and you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. I wish I could have seen this in theaters because, oh my gosh, if you liked Coraline, if you liked Nightmare Before Christmas, it's the same energy. It's so amazing and weird and like kooky and will make you sob and is just, I mean, I love it. It has issues, but I think the pros outweigh the cons so much.
And it's got some deep shit in it too. And I think it's in the trivia. Isn't it PG-13?
I think so. For good reason. Like, they use that well. And it's really heavy, but it's
Yeah.
stuff that needs to be talked about. So, I mean, it was like healing for me to watch it, you know?
Yeah, it's really, I'm glad this kind of stuff is out there for, kids coming up and adults, to
Yeah.
see it too. And I don't think, I mean, I think there are a couple of images like I was, and I don't know from kids, I have a friend who has a kid who's like 8, and I'm just like, what would scare an 8-year-old? This one, some of the images might scare an 8-year-old.
It's pretty creepy sometimes. But
Yeah.
also when I think about Coraline, I'm like, I guess
Yeah.
some of the things in there could have
Oh,
like
that spider sequence at the end, like freaking scared me. Like
even the
that's
scene where she's like slapping the like house centipedes on the shower in the beginning of Coraline, like that freaked me out. When I was
yeah.
like, why are you touching them with your bare hands?
Yeah. So I would say, you know, I don't think there's really triggers for adults, but like maybe kids under 10, you might want to watch it with them.
It can get pretty scary. So we start off with this happy family. It's what was the mom's name again?
Wilma.
Okay. So we open up with our happy family. We have Wilma, Delroy, and Kat. Wilma and Delroy own this brewery called Rustbrink Brewery, and they get a call from this place called the Klaxon Corp, who Delroy says, I keep telling them, no deal. Well, there's a thunderstorm. Young Kat has this little candy apple that they're eating as they're driving. And I would describe the character models as they look like dolls to me. And it's really cool. They have a lot of very visible seams like on their face and whatnot. Like they kind of look like not felt, but something similar. You can just feel the texture in this movie. It's so good. And the designs on the faces and the bodies are all unique, even for the women, which I very much appreciate because women, I think, get the short end of the stick when it comes to character design a lot in animated movies. But like every character looks different in this film, and they all look like exactly what they were going for, which is awesome. So they're going on this bridge when it's really rainy. Wilma asks Delroy to pull over, but he's like, no, we'll be fine. As Kat takes a bite out of her candy apple, this two-headed worm comes out and she screams. And Delroy accidentally like swerves the car and they crash over the bridge. And this is where I just feel like the bad voice acting stands out because there's no urgency. And like, but besides the little girl, besides Kat's voice actor, everybody, and I think Wilma does a pretty good job, but Delroy, it's like, dude, you're about to die and you don't care. And it's all this happens pretty fast. And Wilma tells Kat, like, you need to swim up like I told you to, take a deep breath. And she's like, you're not coming with me? She goes, I'm right behind you. And she rolls down the window and the water comes rushing in. Kat gets out of the car and looks as the car just slowly descends into the abyss and tries to reach out, but has to swim back up for air. And so we find out that night, Wilma and Delroy passed away. And Kat then gives us a voiceover about how she kind of went through the system. She obviously was very traumatized and got involved in, or, I think just became kind of like maybe had some violent outbursts and got sent to juvenile detention, and gives this voiceover about how she has demons. Everyone has demons, but her demons have names. I think that's when we get the Wendell and Wild title card. Now we go to the underworld one of the best scenes in the whole movie. It's so amazing and creepy. There's this giant demon guy voiced by Ving Rhames named Buffalo Belzer. Ghost Town by the Specials plays. It's so good, so creepy. He's this giant blue demon guy with this huge belly, and he's got like a circus and like fair all around it, and these kind of like these little ghosts that look like little paper, like really thin paper, are just being tortured basically at this fair. Like, we've got some people in like a teacup ride, but then boiling water or boiling tea or coffee gets poured on them. We've got people being electrocuted by eels in a tank, but it's just taking us around this fair and it's just so cool. I remember just looking at this and thinking like, oh, okay, This is awesome. And we go up to Belzer's head, and on his scalp are these two little demon guys, Wendell and Wild, played by Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key, who just they do such a great. I mean, I'm biased. I love them, always have, probably always will, but their designs are so great. They look like in the underworld, they have this kind of like flat 2D look to their faces, and it's like a caricature of both of the actors, and they just look great. And so they've got this little contraption. They're on top of this weird horse thing that has like a circle saw mouth that's drilling holes into Belzer's head. And I believe which one is which? I don't remember who is Wendell and who's Wild.
Keegan is Wendell.
Okay. So Wendell is on the beast pulling this crank as and inserting these hair plugs and then putting like hair cream onto it, except Wild is eating the hair cream as he's doing it. And then because the hair makes a little sproing noise, and Wild is imitating the sproing noise so that Wendell thinks that it's going on as Wild downs all of the cream. Wendell catches him and he's like, Belzer's gonna kill us. And he's like, no, but here, you gotta try it. He pours the cream in Wendell's mouth and they get high. And it's so cool because then when they get high, they can get a look into the land of the living and they see Kat. And there's just this moment where both of their hands are all wiggly because they're high. And it looks so cool. And they kind of have their own plans that they're devising. They don't enjoy being subjugated to hair plug duty by Belzer. All right, so now we're back into the land of the living, and Kat is in this kind of like prisoner transport vehicle. She's now 13 years old, and she's being driven by this woman. What was her name again? Ms. Hunter. And Ms. Hunter's design is so cool also. I don't know exactly like what the name of like exactly what her ethnicity is, I guess, but she's obviously like an indigenous person, and she's seems to be a very caring figure. She's driving Kat, and now Kat is back in Rust Bank, and they get back on the same bridge where her parents had died, and she has a panic attack. Ms. Hunter stops the car and asks her if she's okay, and Kat looks over the side of Rust Bank, and the brewery that her parents had is completely burnt to a crisp. And in fact, all of Rust Bank just looks dead. And Ms. Hunter tells her that she didn't want to add to her pain at all, so she did not tell her that there was a fire. Kat asks, was everybody okay? And she just goes, it was bad. And as they drive through the empty Rust Bank, everything is like all businesses are shuttered. There's a giant theater and it just says, that's all folks on the side. And there's Clax Corp signs everywhere. If you think that Clax Corp sounds like Ku Klux Klan, you're right. The symbolism is very overt, but I don't mind it, honestly. Because again, I feel like these are stories that should be told, and there's no mincing words in this. Like, it is what it is. So they get to RBC, Rust Bank Catholic, and Kat is a part of this Break the Cycle program where they take underprivileged kids and they put them into this Catholic school. And these 3 girls meet her at the front. She calls them prize poodles. Their names are Siobhan, Sloan, and Sweetie, I think. Yeah. And the diversity in this movie is great. Like, almost everybody is a person of color, including the girls here. And I do love the energy that these 3 girls have, the poodles, because they're not exactly great people, but it's not the same. It's not like bullying that you would normally see, but they also don't get it. Like Sloan or Siobhan. Is it Sloan or Siobhan?
Siobhan is the main girl.
Okay, yeah. Siobhan is trying to be nice, but also she's like, welcome, I bet this is the best moment of your life being here. And, who knows, maybe prison chic will be the new thing that we bring to Rust Bank. Then it's like, girl, like, that's not it. But she's trying to be nice. Mm-hmm. She also has a little pet goat. It's very cute. And Ms. Hunter gives Kat her father's quote Cyclops, which is this awesome boombox where like the speaker is this giant eyeball. It's super awesome, and also just gives her a bag full of stuff. They all want to call her KK, and Siobhan goes to hug Kat, and Kat gets this like premonition that a brick is going to fall. And prior, we see this boy in this like spire at the Rust Bank Catholic who's just kind of watching everybody. But Kat gets he accidentally nudges a brick and it falls, and Kat pushes Siobhan out of the way and therefore saves her life. And and Siobhan is just like, did everyone see that? Kat just saved my life. I have a feeling she's the best thing to happen into the school in a very long time. It's just like really sweet. So Kat goes to meet the principal. His name is Father Level Best, played by James Hong, who does such a great job. All the designs in this are great. Like
his design is amazing because it's like so his head is somehow like underneath. Like I don't know how to explain it. Underneath his shoulders, so he's just sort of like, I don't know, like really crunched up like a really old man. But like it's a really crazy design. And then when he comes back, when he's reanimated later, like his design
even
gets
pushes it more,
even weirder. Yeah.
So Kat is brought to him by these nuns who also are great. They're like the tiniest little women ever, and they're just like gargoyles.
Yeah. And he calls them the penguins. You know?
Yeah. And again, like the textures and everything, like Kat's wearing this giant, she's wearing Miss Hunter's jacket, and it's this giant poofy jacket. And Father Level Best is on, an under the desk treadmill also. And he welcomes her to Rust Bank Catholic. And she sees that the window in his office is cracked. And she's like, you're happy I'm here because you need the break the cycle money. And he's just kind of like, I'm just happy that you're here, and gives her a uniform. So she goes back to her room and completely punks out her clothes. She rips the side of her skirt, puts safety pins in it. She lets out her hair. She's got this amazing green natural hair and these two like space buns. And like, she's got these giant platform boots and fishnet stockings. She looks amazing. And she walks through the hallway with the Cyclops, playing music, blasting it. And we have like nuns fainting and other girls being like, whoa, this is so cool.
I think this is the Poser song, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good. It fits the scene so well. And she walks into the class, sets the Cyclops down, and sits right behind the boy who had accidentally knocked the brick. And she, says to him, like, you're the one who tried to kill us or something like that. And he's like, no, it was an accident. And, she mentions that she doesn't do friends and that bad things happen when people get close to her. And he goes, what? She goes, they die. And then she moves the boombox in front of her face. But he looks just like he thinks she's super cool. Like, he's just like, wow. I just love all the energy in this movie. Like every character, not every character is sweet, but the sweet ones, you just love them so much. Then the teacher, this nun, the woman played by Angela Bassett, comes in, and this school's learning about this mimic octopus, which is so, like, some of the plot points introduced are very bizarre. And so the nun tells everyone that this octopus can mimic its environment, and we get a cool little sequence where, it's copying fish or other creatures. And so she invites Kat to come over and take a look at it. But when it does, it kind of turns into this like skull thing, and the lights go red and everything's weird. And then there's a desk drawer on the nun's desk that is trying to bang open, and this green light is coming from it. And when Kat gets near it, this electrical spark gets her on her hand, and the nun takes her out of the class, and they look, and she's got this like bite mark looking thing on her hand. It kind of looks like a skull's mouth. And the nun is like, okay, don't worry, this is fine. You're special and this is fine, but you can't tell anyone. It's our secret. And Kat immediately does not trust her. And she's like, you just don't want me to tell because, you're afraid it's going to look bad on you or something. And she runs away. So then we have Siobhan, who comes over to talk to Raoul, who is the boy. And she and Raoul tells her, like, come on, leave her alone. And Siobhan calls him Ramona, and she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Raul. I keep forgetting." And that's why I love the way they do Siobhan's character, because I do think she intrinsically is a good person, but she does not get it. Like, she's clearly very privileged, and she is not very considerate of other people's feelings. And so we can surmise that Raul is trans, because this is a girls' school, but he's a boy wearing a boy's uniform, which is awesome. I think this is a great depiction of a trans character, and I love him. He's my son. So we cut back to the underworld. Wendell and Wild are cutting paper. They have their own idea for a fantasy fair, and they have this whole little pop-up
so
book.
Cool.
It's really cute.
It's made of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And they're they're cutting things out and, just doing it together. And they're mad at Belzer because he doesn't want their input on anything. And so then they get this thing called a Beelzebub bubble, which is this little pink orb that floats in. Oh, by the way, they live in Belzer's nose. I will say, this movie, there are some things that are truly objectively disgusting. And they do some things too well. Like there's snot in there, and I didn't need to see it. And there's nose hairs. Ugh. So the little pink bubble, the Beelzebub bubble, tells them that there is a Hell Maiden, and that the Beelzebub marked the Hell Maiden's hand so that they could find her, and that she can bring them to the land of the living. And so they're like, "Oh, we can go up there and build our fair." And I just love that they don't want to take over the world or anything. They just want to make a Ren fair. It's so cute. So then we go to the golf course. We meet the Claxons, husband and wife, who are British, who want to create a private prison in Rustbank.
Well, wait, but she's English.
I think he's English too.
I think doesn't he have sort of kind of an African accent?
Okay.
But I thought he looked like a black Trump.
He does, because he's got blonde
hair, but he's black. And her, I mean, she's an evil character, but I just love the way she's drawn.
Me too. It's so good. Okay, please, anybody who's pasty listening to this, don't take offense to this, but they depict pastiness on this woman in such an amazing way. You just feel like if you gripped this woman's hand, it would be red for the next 5 minutes. She just looks so pale, but also that she's got a million blood vessels under her skin. I don't know if that makes sense.
She's also probably had 4 facelifts or something like that, because her neck is all crepey.
Yeah, it's got lines all over it.
Then her mascara is just like spider's legs or something. And oh my God.
Her eyes are bright blue, and she's blonde, and she's got even the detail on her body of I feel like her body doesn't exactly match her face, about the whole facelift thing. And God, she just looks so good. And it kind of reminds me of the wife in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Kind of similar. Yeah. God, just so good. And so they're golfing with father level bests, and they want to have build a private prison in Rustbank, but they cannot get the council to vote for them. Father level best is like, well, if only you could resurrect the old guard, and points to this mausoleum where apparently just all these old fucks would totally vote for it, but they're all dead. And then I don't remember exactly why, but they kill him. Because he's the one who vouched for them. Because they threatened to take away their money from Rustbank Catholic. And he's like, well, you remember, I vouched for you on the night of the fire, insinuating that they're the ones who caused it, because everyone in the brewery died during the fire. And so when they hear this, they just kill him and dump his body in the river. So then we go to we meet Raul's mom, who's a paralegal, I think, or a lawyer, I don't know, who's investigating the brewery fire, but does not have support of her law firm. And we just get another little subtle moment where she's like, I'm trying to support my son. That's right, you heard me, my son. And I just think the little details they do, I think, are a good way to describe this character without just saying this person is trans. you can put the pieces together yourself. Meanwhile, Raul's working on his school project. We don't know exactly what it is, but he has like a controller that goes to a projector in the spire that where he was when we first meet him, that projects this image onto the roof that he's spray painting on. Is very cool. It'll come back later. And yeah, so Raul's mom, all of her friends were in that fire, and she also knew Kat's parents, and so she wants to figure out what happened. But she's missing a witness. So then we go back to Kat, who is sleeping in her bed at the school. She misses her parents and then has a dream of the night when they died. She then is pulled out of, it's basically like a rehashing of what happened. And as she's pulled out of the water, it's Wendell and Wild, and this is happening in her dream. And they tell her that she is a Hell Maiden, they are her demons, and that if she can get them to the land of the living, they can give her whatever she wants. Even though we hear them talk to themselves and they're like, we can't bring people back from the dead. And they're like, just lie, just lie.
But we can lie.
Yeah, like they're so stupid. But she's got no other options and, kind of nothing to lose. So she's like, okay, I'll help you. And so they tell her to find Beelzebub and take it to the gravesite on the next full moon. And she needs a witness. So that night, Kat goes exploring. I love this scene as she's just walking through, at night, and there's like a giant statue of like Mother Mary watching over her at one point, and like her shadow in the moonlight. It just looks great. So she finds the Beelzebub, which is this pink stuffed bear, and it's in the nun's desk. Meanwhile, there's this guy. He's the janitor. I love this guy. He uses a wheelchair, but he's got these prosthetic feet on the wheelchair legs, but nothing to connect to them, which is just great. And we can surmise, I guess, Sister Helly, the nun that was the teacher, took the bear from him and hid it in the desk. We don't really, I feel like this part can be kind of confusing when you're first watching it.
I was confused, yeah.
And I think this movie is more complicated than it needs to be. Like, there's way less than it has to do. But as she's hiding, he comes in and just writes, Sister Helly is a thief on the blackboard. And Kat runs out and manages to abscond with the Beelzebub. So that while Wendell and Wild are doing the hair plug thing again, they're just talking. And at one point, the horse creature crushes a tick, which is just, again, this is disgusting. And they accidentally pour cream on it and it comes back to life. And so they realize they can use the hair cream to bring Kat's parents back to life. So at the night, then we get Father Level Best's funeral. And it's the night of the full moon. As the school bus goes away, Kat grabs Raul to be her witness. And it's just great while they're talking because Raul's trying so hard to be her friend. And she just is like, again, like, I don't do friends, Raul. And Raul shows Kat a picture of when he first came to Rust Bank. And we see him before he came out. And he's dressed just like the other poodles. And says that, Siobhan is okay, considering her parents are the Claxons, which is like, what? But also makes sense. So then they go to the gravesite of Kat's parents. And I do love this. Kat pulls on the string of the Beelzebub and it like lifts in the air and tells her what to recite, which is just a great way to do that.
And its eyes glow green,
and it's saying it in a really cute voice, like, repeat after me. So Wendell and Wild are summoned. They now look a little bit more normal, and they get on. They have everything prepared. They're wearing these cute little like suits. They've made imitations of themselves out of snot from Belzer's nose, so he won't know that they're gone. And they go up, but as they're going up to the land of the living, like a rock hits like the soil, like you literally see like a cutout of like the soil profile as they're going up, but their path gets kind of cut, so they go out to Father Level Best's gravesite. And so Kat doesn't see anything, and she thinks that it didn't work. Sister Helly finds them, and we realize that she can turn into this weird, supernatural, glowing snake creature that can travel along the ground. And they manage to, like, you know, come up with a lie. Like, Kat's like, I didn't want to be alone when I visited my parents' funeral, so they go back to the school. Meanwhile, Wendell and Wilder are at Father Level Best's grave, and they're like, well, let's try out the hair cream. And so they wake him up, and they also put on all this makeup on him. But it gives him like red eyeshadow and like red lips and stuff. But he's like, I look great. And like Mom said, like now his head is even more hunched down, and he also just looks bad. Like his fingernails are all yellow now, and his eyes are yellow, and one of them's kind of lazy.
The eye rolls around.
Yeah, it rolls around a little bit. And so they tell him that he has to pay them for reviving him because they want to build their dream fair. So he shows them a view of Rustbank and says that nobody lives here. There's no jobs, no people to pay for the fair, but that the Claxons would pay if they got the prison that they want, and devises a plan to introduce Wendell and Wild to them so that they can revive the old dead council members. And I love this, that this guy is so greedy that he would not think to put them away in jail for killing him, but instead he still wants to work with them just to continue to have money. I did like that. I felt like this guy really is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I feel like it made sense though. So they go back to the school. Raoul goes home, and Sister Helly asks if their secret is safe, and Kat is just like, I don't give a shit about you. The next morning, Father Level Best comes on over the intercom, and everyone is like, wait, what the fuck? He's like, rumors of my death were greatly exaggerated. This sends kind of a weird feeling. Everyone is confused. So, like Kat goes in to, you know, talk to him, and is like, you know, they were supposed to revive my parents, not you. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he calls the nuns in because he says that he's being kidnapped and held against his will. And so now Kat and Raoul have to write, I vow not to kidnap Father Level Best on a chalkboard. So then the priest calls the Claxons. As they're golfing, you know, they get a phone call from him, and they're like, what the fuck? So then Sister Helly returns to Manberg. He's the janitor in the wheelchair, and says that Kat is the one that stole the bear. He's like, oh, you know, she's a hell maiden just like you. You know, if I had had the bear, I would have had time to train her. But now, you know, and we see he's got all these jars full of something.
Creatures.
Yeah. And again, this is a little bit confusing. I do think it's too complicated. There's too many parts to this.
There's a lot going on in this film.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you have a kid who loves this film and will watch it 20 times, they will be able to explain it to you.
Yes.
You know, like I watched it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I do have to say, sometimes when there's like a lot going on in a film, this happened to me when I tried to rewatch Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I just had to shut it off because I'm just like, wow, like
yeah,
you just can't.
Too much.
But I mean, if you're in the right frame of mind, and you can just kind of like, you know, let it wash over you maybe once and then go back and watch it again. I saw so many details, you know.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. Like, and that's why it does not need to be this complicated, because the movie still speaks for itself, I think. And you just, if you shaved it off, I think it would be a lot more palatable than how it is. Because it's, reading this back over, I thought I had it all, and I'm like, this is a lot. Okay. So the penguins are making Raoul and Kat write lines on the blackboard. And Raoul, you know, draws a cute little drawing of the penguins to try to make Kat laugh. And when she does, they wake up and they're like, no having fun. But then they fall back asleep. So Kat and Raoul escape out the window. Helly tries to get in, but doesn't make it in time, and, you know, discovers that they've left. So the priest is now talking with the Klaxons, introduces them to Wendell and Wild, and says that they can get the old guard reanimated so that they can vote for the private prison. And the Klaxons are like, wait, but what if they revive somebody from the brewery? And they tell them that they will get no deal if they try to raise anybody else. So Wendell and Wild are very conflicted because Wendell and Wild are sweet. Like they're trying to do their best, you know. They're demons, but they're just stupid.
Yeah.
So the demons do not want to raise Kat's parents. And Kat and Raoul go back to the cemetery to meet with them again. And they tell her, like, oh, well, we can't raise them yet. But if you swear allegiance to us for all of eternity, then we'll do it. And so Kat is like, okay, fine. But when she does it, like the skull on her hand turns bright green and it goes like, I swear it. And they tell her, okay, well, now go get us some food. And it literally like pulls her. So she has kind of made a deal that she does not realize how big of a deal it is. And Raoul is then stuck to help Wendell and Wild raise the council members and give them makeovers. And they're all hella old. So they're like skeletons full of worms and yeah.
And they're like British colonizer style, like old white people.
Like they got them in like, you know, Napoleon outfit, like old sailor, baseball player.
Oh man, they got like monocles and they've got like
big mustaches.
So funny.
Poor Raoul. And then I love this later. Kat's still getting the food, and after they've raised everybody, Wendell and Wild are just sitting and eating some of the hair cream as the job well done, while Raoul is tied to this gravestone. But it's not tied well. And Raoul's like, hey, like you got to save some for Kat's parents. And they're like, we can't do that because then the Klaxons won't give us our money. So they both fall asleep, and Raoul just like gets up, like he could have gotten up the whole time, and steals the hair cream and goes and resurrects Kat's parents. So Belzer wakes up and he, you know, calls for them. He blows his nose and he sees the snot, you know, creations that they've made and realizes that it's not them and that it turns out they're his sons and they've gone to the land of the living. So Kat's coming back with the food. We see like when she goes to get the food, it's this guy at this food truck who knew her parents, and you know, he's like, you know, take the whole sauce bottle, and he's a really sweet guy. And as she's walking back, she sees like the skeletons partying in these houses, and she's like, how many people did they raise? And then she passes by her house and sees that in the basement there's a light on. So she's like, what? And goes back in and sees her parents. Now her parents, you know, it has been a few years, but they're just kind of they've aged, decomposed just a little. Like they're blue, but they're still all there. And you know, they give her a hug and they're like, wow, you know, you're a lot tougher, aren't you? And she's like, well, I had to be ever since I killed you. And they assure her, like, you did not kill us. Like, it was an accident and there's nothing that you could have done. And, you know, and she tells them that this happened because she pledged allegiance to these demons, but it was a good thing because they brought them back. And they're like, no, like, it was your friend Raoul, and you know, he's in danger and, you know, you need to take care of him. And I do love this scene because Kat's like, you know, who cares? Like, I got you back now. Mm-hmm. But it's great that like she's got parents again who are trying to guide her onto the right path that she didn't have for so long. So they're telling her to like do the hard thing now and go help your friend, because friends are like family. And they clearly had so many friends when they were alive. And I just thought that was a really sweet detail, you know, that Kat, what?
I just wanted to say, like, the staircase down to the basement is really cool too, because there's a picture of her like at 5 years old, at 4 years old, and at different heights. But it's the outline. It's not just a line on the wall. It's like the outline of her figure, and then it goes all the way down to the landing where it's a picture of the three of them, and it's like first day home from the hospital. And
that's really sweet.
Like, oh my God, like that one got me. That was just like, and that's just like, that's brilliant storytelling right there. That tells you what kind of people her parents are and were, and really choked me up. Not to mention all the punk music, you know, like you mentioned a couple of things, but these are cool ass parents, you know, and we'll see a little bit of that when they hang out with Raoul, but
it's very sweet. Like the details, again, like you don't need to make it so complicated because the story in itself is already, I think, profound enough, you know? Like girl loses her parents in tragic drowning and bullies herself for years because of it, is like literally that's it, you know? It could have been it. And then turns to demons, you know, because she's so distraught over it. Boom, done. Okay. So she goes to take care of Raoul. She tells them to stay there because she doesn't want anything else to happen to them. So we see Raoul is being held prisoner. He's just behind this little gate, and the the horse thing is like, you know, licking him. And Wendell and Wild are just like, where's the Hell Maiden with our food? Like, come on. So Kat goes and, you know, she gives some food to the horse thing, rescues him. She takes off her boots, drips hot sauce all over them. And so it looks like, oh, I didn't realize that his name was Sparkplug.
Yeah.
So when Wendell and Wild come back out because they can smell the food, they're like, oh, is that our food? And they see, you know, the clothes with the hot sauce, and they think Sparkplug has eaten both Kat and Raoul. And it's so funny because they're like, no, like, how could you do this? And they're like, oh, we got Raoul too. That made me laugh out loud. So then we see Belzer talking to these things called soul jockeys that are these little bird creature things. And I love this scene. Belzer's giant, by the way, if you couldn't tell, since Wendell and Wild lived in his nose. And these soul jockeys are little tiny birds in his hand. And he's like, so, you know, you took my only sons up to the land of the living. And these things can't talk, you know, but they're just like, and whose idea was that? And they push one of them up, and he's like, was it you? And he's like, mm-hmm. And he's like, see, now that wasn't so hard, was it? And the thing goes, no. And then he crushes them in his hand. So now he's going to go get them back. So Sister Helly finds Kat and Raoul and reveals to Kat that she has the same mark on her hand. So she knows, you know, what it's like to be a Hell Maiden. And because the hand keeps pulling her, Raoul goes back to her house, but she can't go in because the hand is pulling her back because, you know, she's literally sworn allegiance. So she takes Kat back to the school into her little workshop with Manberg. Like they could have their own movie, Manberg and Sister Helly. And she, you know, Kat's coming down with this fever. And I wish that this part didn't feel so shoehorned in because I do like it a lot, but it just, again, there's so much going on. I just feel like it feels weird, but I like the point of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she, you know, Manberg's like, you know, we have to do a quarantine, and gets out this, you know, Swiffer or this hand vacuum cleaners, dustbuster. And Helly's like, no, you know, we need to do something else, blood bind us. And so, you know, he cuts both of their hands, and they are holding hands now, and they go into this chamber. Meanwhile, Raoul's mom is holding a meeting to stop the Klaxcorp. And we get to see the other council members. I do love them. There are these two older women who are both knitting, and you know, she's like, you know, all in favor of the prison. Everybody's like, no. But then all of the old zombie guard members walk in, and according to the rules, they have a doctor, a part of the council, who's like, in my professional opinion, these men are alive. And so they outnumber the council. And so the Klaxcorp is able to build their prison. And then Siobhan, because we had seen a moment earlier of Siobhan being like, because Kat's like, your parents are the Klaxons. And she's like, well, yes, they do private prisons with therapy and yoga. And she's like, I've been in private prisons. They are not fun. And so Siobhan goes to confront her parents. And I think Siobhan at her heart is a good person. And she's like, Mommy, Daddy, I know exactly what your prisons are all about. You get money for every prisoner that you have. So you pack them in like sardines, and, you give them no chances to succeed, and you make all this money on it. And they're like, yes, exactly. You got it. Yes, Siobhan, that's what we do. And they explain that the Break the Cycle program is that they want to bus in as many, kids in the juvenile system as possible, make it impossible for them to succeed, so then they can be imprisoned. And she's like, and that's how we'll make our money. And Siobhan is just horrified. And, they're like, well, Siobhan, are you going to be there when we cut the ribbon tomorrow? And she's like, oh, I'll be there. And leaves. So she goes to try to talk to Kat, but her goat pulls her all the way to the cemetery. And anyways, sorry, back to Sister Helly. Again, so much going on. Back to Sister Helly and Kat. So Helly says that Kat has to face her past. And this is basically, like therapy that Kat's going through. And so we find out that in this cool flashback sequence, that this one is more like 2D. It's very cool. She fought back against a bully and pushed him down the stairs. And then her memories created a monster inside of her that beats her up. And we can see this by literally, like, the thing is, it's got her hand, like its hands are her hands, and it's hitting itself. So she's hitting herself. And the monster itself is so cool. Like, it's made out of all these things. Like, it's got the Cyclops, it's got the car, it looks like her, but it is this scary creature. And Helly says that the only way to defeat this monster is to own her memories. And so then she kind of goes into this other little spirit world thing. And, she's got the monster down into what is essentially like, her trauma as a child, and it's scared and afraid. So, and this part made me cry. Like, she brings it close to her and hugs it. I love it in horror movies when people hug a monster. It's like so good. Mwah. And so it absorbs into her. Now she's owning herself and her history. And now she's got the power to see the future, because why not? So next we go back to Raoul, who's hanging out with Delroy and Wilma, which is, I love this scene. It's so cute.
So
He's
sweet.
just jamming out, listening to music on their record player. When Father Level Bess and the demons kidnap Kat's parents. So we go back to the cemetery, and the parents easily defeat the demons. They're a lot smaller than them. And they're like, Kat was scarier when she was 4 or whatever. And Kat and Raoul come and apprehend them, and Father Level Bess. And then Siobhan and the goat named Gabby find them. Siobhan tells the priest that her parents are just lying to him. They don't want to save the school or fund the Ren Fair or the fun fair. And Kat then gets a vision of the future that the Klaxons want to just completely obliterate Rustbank. So then Belzer appears. He comes up. And we got Manberg and Helly. Manberg is, he's got his dustbuster, and it's vacuuming up some of Belzer's hair plugs. Everybody's escaping. It's a cool chase sequence, but then he captures everyone. And meanwhile, the sun comes up, and it melts all the ice and snow on top of the roofs. Turns out the project Raoul was working on is this beautiful portrait of a parent protecting her child against this 2-headed dragon. And clearly the parent is his mom, and the 2-headed dragon are the Klaxons. And Belzer's like, oh, like a parent protecting their child, something that I didn't do for my kids. And he reveals that Wendell and Wild had siblings, but they all left and they never came back. And he always beat himself up for it. And Manberg reveals that, he has all of them. They're all the things in the jars. It turns out he had been using Sister Helly to summon them and then capturing them for his collection. But he's like, I can let everyone go. And so and he's like, it's so funny. He's putting all the jars in Belzer's hands, and he's like, oh, you and you, all these names. And, he tells the boys, like, because when he got up and came back to the land of the living, it destroyed the fair. So he's like, well, I need somebody else to help me with the fair. And so now Wendell and Wild are going to be able to build their dream fair. And meanwhile, Father Level Bess drops dead again. And Belzer says that, oh, he's surprised that it could bring people back, but that cream just don't last. And so the parents tell Kat that, it's been great to see her, but that what has to happen is that they are going to die, but that she can save the town with the last bit of cream. So they have Raoul raise a witness from the brewery fire so that it can prove that it was set intentionally. So, okay. Now we go to the Claxons, who are with the governor. I love this detail too. Like, the governor's A-okay with the prison being done. And, they're all set to demolish the town. And the old guard members are the ones on the bulldozers. But all of the heroes are protecting the water tower, including Siobhan, who, she's determined to break her own cycle.
Nice.
And we think maybe they're going to have a change of heart when they see Siobhan, but they're like, no, kill them all. But they fight the bulldozers while TV on the radio's Wolf Like Me plays. It's awesome. And the Claxons get arrested because now they have a witness. So then Kat's parents become weak, and this part is so sweet. It makes me cry. She's laying them down on the snow, and she asks them, what she sees for Russ Bank's future. And now that, they've defeated the Claxons, she describes that, the brewery, gets back up and everything's okay. People come back to Russ Bank. She works with Miss Hunter with the Break the Cycle thing at RBC. And then Wendell and Wild show Kat their vision of the Dream Fair to reassure her that even though that their vision was that they wanted people upstairs or downstairs to have a great, rest of eternity. And when they open up their little, paper thing, it's this beautiful, like Technicolor thing of just this fun. It's really beautiful. Words can't describe it. And she turns, this is just really sweet. She says, she turns to her parents and she's like, what do you think? And then she says, I was supposed to hate myself for the rest of my life, but now I don't have to. And then the movie ends and it's really sweet. So that's what I mean is it has its problems. I wish I could have been one of the editors because I would have told them to cut a lot of that shit out. Not all of them. I think the thing is all of them, everything in there I think is a great idea, but it's like kill your darlings. You had a lot of great ideas, but they don't all fit, in this.
It's like 2 or 3 movies. You're right. Yeah. Smashed together. But there were some things I hadn't seen the first time or two that I watched it. And so I think it's worth watching, especially if you like animation. And I always marvel at stop motion animation because it just takes so damn long to make it. One of the things is, I don't know, when their crypts are opened, there are spider webs in there.
Yeah.
Just.
And it looks real because it is.
Makes so much sense. And, but yeah. And I guess the thing you were saying about the lines on the characters' faces, usually those would be smoothed out. But he wanted to keep them for these characters. And
I think it adds so much character to it.
Does.
And just all their clothings, the materials. I remember there's one scene where she's in her room looking at these photographs and they're actual photographs. So they have the texture of when the light hits them, they're kind of glossy in the way that only printed photos are. It's just so cool. It's amazing. I wish I could have seen it in theaters. Here's some trivia. Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas makes a brief cameo during the credits. In the scene going down in the ground, Jack's skull appears among other skulls. And he's also seen as a topper on the antenna of the Juvenile Justice van. I did not catch that.
I saw the topper, but I didn't see the other one.
The soundtrack is comprised of all black rock bands or black-fronted leads of rock bands in tribute to Fishbone. To prepare their voices for the roles of Wendell and Wild, Key and Peele had to watch a lot of Abbott and Costello comedies.
That makes sense.
Ving Rhames starred in The People Under the Stairs from 1991. Great film. And Jordan Peele is producing the remake. Oh, that should be good. Okay, wow, I'm about to get really mad.
Yeah, you are.
Well, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? Grace Mady gave it a half star. Sucked balls. Guess what, Grace Mady? You suck balls. Davey Wan gave it a half star. First animated movie that I couldn't finish, and I will never try to watch it again. The character designs had so much potential. Okay, you haven't watched enough animated movies, because I've seen plenty of animated movies that I could not finish. And this is not a bad one, in my opinion. CIA Sunshine Loy gave it a half star. This movie is literally ass. It's what you are.
We got the ass. Got the ass review.
Gotta have it. I guess. Andrew Jones gave it a half star. This is a trifecta. Tedious and ugly. How can you say that?
But also, that's a bifecta.
That's a bifecta. Here's a trifecta. You're dumb, stupid, and you've got no taste. Now on to the people with taste. Axel Bruno gave it 5 stars. Wendell and Wild explores the meaning behind what it means to stand against selfish forces, has an excellent soundtrack featuring many iconic punk and riot grrrl musicians, and has excellent representation of different cultures and a diverse cast. This movie, alongside Nimona, are modern animated punk classics. Big agree. Nimona, another great film. Henry gave it 5 stars. Stop motion trans men making zombies with hair cream. What else can you ask for? I posed the same question. G. Benroe gave it 5 stars. Genius. Love a good Henry Selick stop motion film. Character design is A1. Story was brilliantly unique. Voice acting, chef's kiss. Well, a little bit disagree there. And animation went crazy. I have nothing bad to say about this movie. You know I love me some good animation. P.S. Watch the end credits. Delaney gave it 5 stars. Weird girl TM grieving loss with a trans friend inside a film carrying an anti-prison message, all with a delightful spooky vibe. This movie needs the Coraline treatment. Watch it every October, people. I agree. Like, I will watch this movie again. Well, how would we rate it? How about splots of hair cream?
Yeah.
I will give it 4.
4.
Yeah, I think it's solid 4. I wish I could give it 5. But it's not a perfect movie. And it pains me that it's not, because it could have been. What have we learned? Therapy is good.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to put really heavy messages in children's films.
Yeah.
I don't think I think Americans shy away from that, but I wish we didn't, because kids can handle it. Kids go through some rough shit sometimes, and I think it's great that movies like this and Inside Out are out there now for kids to get the message that it's okay to have feelings and to feel bad and to face your demons and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Would we watch it again? Yes.
Yeah,
I would. Definitely. Favorite scene? I feel like, I mean, there's so many, but again, when we first see the spooky fair in the very beginning, I just think that scene, I just remember watching it and being like, oh my God.
I like all the Bears Above stuff because it's such a cute little bear, but it's, demonically possessed and stuff. So I guess the scene at the grave site, when with all the Latin and the bear and everything.
And pulling the string to get the Latin is just it's so good. Who wins the You Fool Award? Father Level Bests for not taking his newfound, revival to be the direct, be like, these people killed me. Instead, he's like, I think I will help them.
Unicorn Wars. The summary from IMDb states, war-hungry teddy bears journey from boot camp to the psychedelic terrors of the magic forest in this darkly beautiful horror animation. This was directed by Alberto Vasquez, written by Vasquez, based on Sangre de Unicornio by Vasquez, starring John Goriri and Jaisone Insausti. Narrated by Ramon Barea and edited by Inigo Gomez and Estancis Banuelos. Music by Joseba Beristain and Victor Garcia.
What about Berenstain?
There's no N though. Beristain.
Okay, do you get it?
Did you ever read the Berenstain Bears when you were a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like them?
No.
Me neither.
I just thought it was ugly.
This was released on the 16th of June, 2022 at Annecy. I don't know what that is. WoHos get in touch. The 21st of October, 2022 in Spain. And the 28th of December, 2022 in France. It has a running time of 92 minutes. Okay, in the opening scene, we have woodland creatures. We have a waterfall and all these beautiful creatures just sort of hanging out. There's a unicorn pony playing, giving Bambi vibes with her bunny friend. And the mother calls to her, and there's a color shift to blacks and reds as the unicorn runs into this church. And there's this bunch of ape-like creatures watching this. Maria the pony runs toward the voice, but now it's on this altar and it's become this blob-like creature calling to her, and it starts to chase her, very scary, crawling and consuming everything.
So scary.
Very scary.
What the fuck? I love the way that the unicorn looks. I love that they're unicorns, but they're all black. And
yes.
I love it. They have a weird 3D-ness to them almost. I would believe that they were animated in 3D, but it looks still 2D because they're more like black silhouettes. I love it.
With these glowing white eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I don't think this is appropriate for gosh. Anybody
if
under
you're
12?
If you get nauseous easily, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
This movie made me nauseous.
This might not be for all adults either.
I don't even think maybe a 16-year-old. It's so violent.
It's very violent. Viewer, beware. Then we get the title card, and we see the boot camp, and it has all these signs with unicorn heads with the no sign through them, and it's love camp, and the motto for love camp is honor, pain, and cuddles. And in the boot camp, everyone is singing the song "Good Unicorn, Dead Unicorn." And in the barracks, everyone is admiring themselves in the mirror.
They're all teddy bears.
They're all teddy bears. They look like Care Bears, kind of. They have different colors, and they have slight variations to their characters. There's one bear, Coco, who is sharpening a machete. But everyone is admiring how they look, except for Tubby, who is a pink bear that is, Tubby. And Gordy in the Spanish, yes. So little fatty, I guess. Snuggles, who's kind of a dandy, points out Bluey's wrinkles, because Bluey is the most handsome bear, but Bluey has some wrinkles under his eyes that he gets rid of with cream. And so there's a fight. Bluey punches him, and Coco is smoking outside and pulls Bluey off, and Bluey attacks Coco and says, "Actions have consequences." And Bluey runs away crying. This priest comes along and consoles him, and Bluey says he just wants to be the best. And the priest says, "You just need something to believe in," and gives him the holy book.
There's a lot of, I think just like Wendell Wild, I think the symbolism here is very overt.
The drawings in the holy book are so cool. Beautiful.
There's so many stylistic shifts throughout this movie, and it's done so well. I don't know how to describe exactly the art in the holy book, but it's kind of like medieval
Yes.
2D paintings, you know? It's so cool. But like the bears, like, you know, the unicorns were their whole other style, and the bears kind of feel more like kind of like 20s, really kind of old school style, but very bright and colorful, but like cartoon, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They're really neat. I'll see if I can find some stills of those pages in the holy book. But there's a narration here, and it says that only the chosen one can enter the kingdom of heaven, and that will be the bear that drinks the blood of the last unicorn. But back in the barracks, in the middle of the night, Tubby tells Bluey that he wet the bed. And at first, Bluey acts like he will help him, like take the sheets and, just
Nobody
be really
will
quiet.
know.
Nobody will know. But then he turns on the lights and he's like, "Look, Tubby wet the bed," and humiliates him in
Such
front
an
of
asshole.
everybody in the barracks. At target practice, they have these their arrows have little hearts on the on the tips of the arrows and stuff, and they're shooting to try to get better so they can defeat the unicorns, and they're told to shoot through the neck to cause suffering as the unicorns die. Bluey is very good, but Coco is the best, and Coco is appointed the leader. We have a flashback to Bluey fishing with his dad, and his dad tells him that he and the mom are getting a divorce, and that the mom has been having an affair because the dad is so mediocre. And he's like, "Don't, whatever you do, you have to be the best. Don't be mediocre like your father." And when they get back to the shore, Tubby and the mom have been hanging out. And so the mom, of course, doesn't, treat Bluey any differently, but Bluey hates her now, and he spits on the ground in front of her. And so everybody, of course, is very shocked by this reaction. At church, everybody's singing the song, "Good Unicorn, Bad Unicorn." And they are told by the preacher that teddy bears are the chosen beings, and all unicorns must die. And they are fed dingy porridge. The bears hate this. They're like, "Not this again.
Blueberries.
We want blueberries." And they're told, "You're going to eat this and you're going to like it and you're going to suffer and that's going to make you tough." And the people who are the higher ranking in the military are like, "Look at these recruits. This is the worst batch we've ever had." But they're told, that's good, actually, because it's good to have expendable soldiers. They're no big loss then in that case, and it's okay to have collateral damage.
I love the condemnation of war in this movie. There's a condemnation of a lot of things.
Yes. Religion, war,
nationalism,
yes. Yeah, it's not subtle, but what a creative way to show that. I mean,
you just see how ridiculous it is to, to have these, bears be told this, but we've, even the brief glimpse we've seen of the unicorn, it's like, well, what's wrong? Like, why is this conflict? We don't even know why the conflict is really there.
No, I mean, it just seems like it was written in the book, and then it became law, I guess.
It became what the whole thing, because the bears are definitely, it feels like the aggressors.
Oh yeah.
But they victimize themselves. Like, they're like,
yeah,
but we were shunned, from the forest and whatnot, so it's all their fault and we have to kill them.
So the bears are told that they need to go into the magic forest because of the former group has been lost. And so they're sort of shown on a map, like how deeply they have to go into the forest. And even the sergeant is like, "Oh no, this is not good." So they're all sent off with a parade, and Father sends off Bluey and Tubby with a blueberry pie.
And very specifically, Gordy gets one slice and Bluey gets the whole other part of the pie.
I thought Bluey just like took the pie for
No, the
himself.
dad specifically gave it to them that way.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, we get a little more from the Holy Book, and the creation story says that all animals in the beginning lived in paradise, but then the teddy bears found the book, and the bears became superior. The unicorns were jealous, and a holy war ensued. The bears were expelled from paradise, and they bore the stigma of defeat. God will return to paradise, basically after all the unicorns are defeated.
And the house where the bears found the book is the same one that the unicorn from the beginning went to in search of its mom.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so that's where the holy book was found. So we know that it's not a good place.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we see our recruits in the forest. We get sort of like the Apocalypse Now scene.
Exactly.
It's like hot. They're sweating. There's these mosquitoes that are biting them. And everyone is eating porridge that evening, but Bluey is off by himself, eating the blueberry pie. Private Snuggle takes off his boots and he goes to take a whiz. And Tubby's just sort of hanging out, but he accuses Tubby of trying to see his willy.
Poor Tubby.
Yeah, but also bad choice, writers, right?
Yeah.
Because we have like the only gay bear is, he's like, well,
predatory.
You can look at my willy if you want to. And Tubby's like, no.
Yeah.
It's not great. A lizard bites Snuggles' foot. And it quickly becomes infected. They see the footprints of the lost group of recruits. And after a while, Snuggle just has to take off his boots because his foot hurts too bad.
It's so gross.
Like the stages of infection that are shown on this foot. Really disgusting.
Also, need to mention, okay, again, Tubby/Gordy's my favorite boy, my favorite sweet bear of all time. Everybody's like, we don't want this fat ass coming with us. And the sergeant's like, well, somebody's got to carry all the stuff. So he's like, kind of like the medic. So I just feel so bad for him because everybody comes to him in their time of weakness. But then when it's in the group, he's the one that's like, made to be the scapegoat for everything. But unfortunately, I do feel like that is very realistic of a lot of us versus them stuff. Like, not to get too deep into it, but I don't know. I just remember having a memory from middle school where there was this one girl I was friends with, and for some reason that week everybody hated her, and she was a very like popular pretty girl. And I mean, I always thought we were friends anyway, but she often wouldn't hang out with me always. But that one week when everybody was being mean to her, she sat with me, and was very vulnerable and whatnot. But even then I had the sense I was like, this is only because your other friends, are not here. And I just feel like that's such a shitty behavior that a lot of people do.
But what's even shittier than that is when that happens in adulthood.
And like you didn't grow out of it when you were a kid?
Oh, come Jesus, on. I'm sorry you're not getting attention from your other friends. And now
poor
you want to hang out and get attention from me? Fuck you.
Truly. I remember when I was a kid and I asked you, I won't tell the whole story, but I asked you just like, because an adult had been very immature to me. And I was like, are you saying that won't grow out of it? And you were like, oh, honey, no.
No.
Nope.
No, I'm sorry. No, I mean, I think some people grow out. Hopefully some people grow out of it. I'm just alarmed when I see it, actually.
It's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm alarmed, but I'm not surprised, but I'm just disappointed. Like, oh, come on. Like, there is therapy available. There are tools that you can avail yourself of to not be, I don't want to say dick. We need a different.
I was about to say asshole, but that's another body part. Piece of doo-doo.
Yeah, but that's not strong enough. But yeah, you get it.
Waste of space.
Actually, my friend Cole, I just remembered this, but it's kind of mean.
What was it?
We used to just call people Kristens.
Because you knew a Kristen you didn't like?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I just said all that about bullying. When I was a kid, we used to play Foursquare, and there was one girl that we all hated named Brenna, who, sorry if you're listening to this, Brenna, but she was an asshole. She used to shove people. I'm sure she had stuff going on. Who cares? She always did this one move that was just so cheap. And so whenever somebody was the ace and they made the rules, we'd always say, and no Brennas, everybody. She deserved it, though.
Yeah, but it's tough. Like, I mean, I was just actually, I think it was Kevin Allison. You know, Kevin Allison from the state. You know, he pointed out that, like, and especially if you're into dicks and assholes, like you're kind of a fan of those things. Like, we need a different kind of insult, you know, because it's not.
And I hate when people say, like, you're a pussy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like, that's just lame.
Let's just find something else that, like, kind of captures the sense of someone being a jerk, but
a real stinker.
Yours are so cute.
Because the only ones I can think of are, I almost said, you know, like, again, asshole, butthead, even a butt.
Yeah, even a butt. Okay, so Snuggle is suffering with his foot. It's infected and pussy and disgusting. And everyone stops to, you know, just sort of take a break. And Tubby gives some of his little slice of pie to a woodland creature.
He's just so good.
And Bluey finds a rainbow-colored caterpillar. And the sergeant's like, oh, this is great, Bluey. Like, we all really need this right now. This is awesome. But the priest, like, is like, no. These are drogas. These are drugs. You know, we can't have these caterpillars. And Sergeant is like, look, God can back off for tonight. Like, the boys need this. And so it escalates pretty quickly, and the sergeant cuts the priest's face, and the priest sort of, like, slinks away. So later,
they get fucked up.
Oh my God, what a beautiful scene, though.
It's so, like, okay, I have had an experience before of, because specifically, there's so many great parts, but the guy with the infected foot, there's such a great sequence where he's tripping balls also, but he feels like he's melting. Yes. And, like, the pain is coming, like, these rainbow stuff is, like, coming from his foot. And I have been high before. I made the mistake once after I got top surgery. I think I took, like, an edible or something, and it was a mistake because though I had pain meds, like, there's a special weird feeling when you're hot, when you're tripping balls, kind of, but you have real physical pain going on. It's like, I thought it would make it feel better, but it didn't. It just freaked me out even more. And I don't know. I just thought that was a great depiction of, like, that is not the thing you want to be doing when it's not the same as having a painkiller, you know, of, like, if you're tripping and you feel physical pain, it's scary, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've never had that experience. I'm glad of that now. Yeah. But, the animation here is just amazing. This is my favorite scene. I mean, this is just incredible. Same. Like, their eyes, like, it looks like spotlights are coming out of their eyes. Everything's like psychedelic colors. And when we see the Cuddly Wuddly twins, their eyes, how would you describe it? Like, their eyes have, like, they've become very tiny and like double.
Yeah, kind of like pupils. Stretched out a little bit.
Oh Lord, it's amazing. So the one of the twins has a bug in his hands, and kind of like that creature in Wendell Wild. This bug has, like, kind of these, like, tiny teeth that look like knives or something, and the bug says, "Let's go in the woods." And so the sergeant is like drinking the priest's like flask of wine, and the priest is not tripping. He's like off by himself and he's praying for the bears. So one twin goes looking for his brother and comes upon this giant caterpillar, and then the scene cuts. So the next day, everyone is packing up, but Tubby realizes that the Cuddly Wuddly twins are missing. And when they come to the clearing, Lord, they see that one bear has been stabbed to death, has succumbed to his wounds, and has been stabbed with an army knife. And so they're like, what the hell happened? And then they realize the other one has hanged himself from a high branch.
So fucked up, because they were genuinely very sweet. Like the Cuddly Wuddly twins. Like, we just got a lot of cute moments. Like, because Bluey and Tubby are brothers. Tubby's a great brother. It's the best, you might say. Bluey's an absolute maniac. Psycho. But the Cuddly Wuddly brothers were very sweet. They were genuinely like always together. It was like pretty upsetting.
Yeah, very upsetting. So the sergeant vomits, and I even like the vomit, right? The vomit is still psychedelic.
Yeah.
I love it. And the priest is like the super like low angle shot of the priest, and he's like shouting at him, and he's like, it's all your fault, you know? And the sergeant's like, I know, it's all my fault. And so at the funeral, the priest spews a bunch of shit, and there's a flashback to Mother Bear's funeral. And Bluey is just like beside himself and like runs up to the gravestone and like hugs it. And everybody's sort of surprised, you know, at Bluey's reaction. The sergeant sees an opening in the forest, and there are apes in the forest. And Tubby asks why the priest is there. And the priest says, well, you know, God is everywhere. And anyway, they'll have a little conversation, but the priest is like, you know, God is everywhere. And then they find the former group of soldiers, and they're all dead with their guts hanging out. And this is a very disturbing scene.
Disgusting.
Oh, it's horrible. And there are flies all around them. And so I think it's the priest is like, look at who we're fighting against. Like, look at the viciousness of this attack.
Even though they have no confirmation that it was the unicorns. And like, but he's so quick to use this as a way to garner more hatred against the unicorns. It must have been them.
So Coco's like, fuck this. Let's go home. And the sergeant says, we're all going to die.
I do love the sergeant. I love that he's so incapable. Like, he was so tough drilling them and whatnot, but when he's actually in it, he's like, immediately is like, let's all get fucked up. You know, fuck you, priest. And we're all going to die. Like, I would be shitting myself if I was any of the recruits.
But earlier on in the movie, the priest was giving all the bears these like heart-shaped medallions, and the sergeant's like, I don't need that, but he does accept it after the Cuddly Wuddly twins are found. So Bluey wets himself, and Tubby comforts him. Snuggles' leg is infected, and he asks Coco to put him out of his misery. So later, they burn all of the corpses. Then we cut to an idyllic scene with the bunny's babies and Maria and her friend, her unicorn friend, are running around the forest. But the friend has to like go back with her mom. And that group of unicorns is like, why don't you come with us? And she's like, no, I want to wait and see my mom. And so Maria goes to the water side, and her horn glows. And she has this sort of moment with the spirit of her mother, or is it her mother?
I think her mom is still alive.
Okay.
But I think her mom's a part of the like revolution, or you know, and so
okay.
I think that's what it is, because I think we see her later. But she's just telling her like, sometimes adults got to leave you.
Yeah, she says that at some point, you know, all parents have to leave their children, and actually nature is the true mother, and we have to look after nature. And there's like I wish I had paid more attention to all the color shifts, because there's a lot of shifts between the blue and the pink and the black, and I'm sure those are all really symbolic. But anyway, I don't know if the ape creatures are there like watching her, but her horn glows, and then all these like lovely sprouts like spring up, and there's all this beautiful growth.
So like the unicorn, I got the sense like the unicorns are what, like literally their job is also sustaining like the life
Of the forest.
of the forest. And I feel like you could also draw so many parallels between like I don't know, the subjugation of like indigenous peoples and whatnot. Because like the bears, we see so clearly they are so out of their depth in the forest, despite their claim that it belongs to them. And yet, like the unicorns are the ones who can survive in it, thrive in it, and keep it alive. And yet they are somehow the monsters.
Yeah, that's great. So Bluey sees Maria's mother off in the clearing, and all the bears shoot at her. But then there's like this return of all the unicorns, and there's this huge, battle. She's very strong and she fights back, but she's finally shot through the neck and she dies.
A bunch
and
of them
it's
die.
Vicious. I mean, the bears are just like, run through with the unicorn's horns, and it's just really bloody, and everybody is basically killed except for Bluey, Tubby, and Coco. The priest blows himself up with a grenade, and what did they call it in the beginning? Like the sacred fire or something like that.
This
Like,
guy is so fucking full of it.
Coco is injured, and Bluey finishes him off. And he says, actions have consequences.
This
remember?
Motherfucker. Because we see Coco left a pregnant wife behind, because they had this whole goodbye scene earlier. It's like, Coco was a good guy.
Oh, God. And then that night, Bluey has a fire and he's eating this meat, and we realize that he's eating the leg that he's like sawed off of Coco.
It's been like one day.
Yes.
It's like this is not a desperate situation, and Tubby is like horrified.
Yeah. And so Tubby's like, fuck this, and like runs away. And then there's a flashback to the beginning when Bluey and Tubby are in the womb. And it's all very soft and lovely, and they're together. But then Tubby was born first, and then that's the origin of Bluey's resentment. The voiceover says, it was the worst minute of life. I was alone, abandoned. I will always come second.
Dog.
What?
You are projecting.
But Tubby figures out how to survive in the jungle. Eating mushrooms and seed pods. He catches a frog and he grills it. And then Bluey comes up and is like, I need some food. I'm starving. And so he just like flips the frog backwards at him.
I do like Tubby's got a real backbone now. Like he's like, and what if I don't give it to you? You're going to kill me too? And he's like, I would never. How could you say such a thing?
But then after Bluey gets the frog, he's like, don't drink too much water, Tubby, or you might wee. And Tubby's like, you're the one who was always wetting the bed, not me. And so like, whoa, that's like so heavy. And he goes, there's something wrong with you. Mom used to say that. So we get a flashback where Tubby's with the mom and she coughs up some blood and she dies. And in her bed, she makes Tubby promise to take care of Bluey. Bluey can't sleep, and he is called through the forest. His name, someone is calling his name, and he goes through the forest and he sees his mom's hat in a clearing, and he chases it through this bush. And then there's a staircase. He goes up the staircase to this door into their childhood bedroom. And in his dream memory, Tubby is with mom planting seeds, and Bluey just, doesn't feel connected at all. And he goes into the shed and he sees some poison.
Like, he was born wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one thing I don't. Another one of the messages I'm not sure I totally agree with is like, what is up with this guy? Like, he literally was born a crazy, like, fucker, you know?
Yeah.
We see that there's actually no reason for him to be like this. Like, there's no, like, his parents were good to him. Sure, his mom cheated on his dad, but like, she clearly loved him and they
Hmm.
tried to include him and he would disclude himself. And then he's
Yes.
like, I'm going to kill her. What?
But I know. I mean, I think this could have been written differently for sure. But there are people like that. That there's no explanation, for the evil in some people.
I don't know. Like, I don't feel like that as a whole though is what we should hold in our hearts. Like, that's the
Hmm.
exception to the rule. Like, I feel as though the proper way to look at things is like, I mean, for like crime and whatnot, there 9 times out of 10 there is a real reason, or or there's patterns you can see that we should be using to, like, there are ways to mitigate these things that we are just simply as a society not doing. And like, the idea that there are just evil people is a very easy way to not have those systems in place, because you can just say, well, criminals, they're just evil and so we just have to kill them. And it's easy, it's a very easy explanation, but not one that actually benefits us.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I feel like for every, Ted Bundy, there are thousands of people who are called evil who just have grown up through abuse and neglect, and that's the explanation for why. And I don't know that much about Ted Bundy, and I don't really care to know that much about him. All I know is at the end of his life, he was like, "You're going to have to kill me, because if you don't, I will do this again."
Yeah.
And I guess that's what I mean. I mean, I think Bluey's just sociopath. Like, he doesn't,
It's like, even
but
sociopaths deserve,
but
like,
also I think this is Evil Junior. Like, this isn't even like the real evil.
yeah,
Like,
that's
as
true.
evil as Bluey gets,
It can be
as
worse.
it's worse. But I mean, it's not a perfect movie, and I think, yeah, this could have been handled differently for sure.
I feel like you just get so much of Bluey and you get so much of his backstory, and none of it endears you to him. And all you want the whole time is for him to be out of there. Like,
Hmm.
and I don't think that's great. Like, you can even have people who do bad things that are engaging to watch and like entertaining. But he's not. Like, you're just like, fuck this guy. And
Yeah.
I saw that as a common complaint of this film, of just people being like, what the fuck is up with this dude?
Yeah. So we see in the flashback the mother, or we see Bluey overhear the mother saying, "Your brother's not well. He always wants to be alone." And he comes up to Tubby and the mother asks for some lemonade. And so he goes and he gives it to her, and then as she drinks it all, he walks away, and we see, he's very sad. But back in the present, Tubby finds a river and a blueberry bush, and they eat all these blueberries. It's wonderful. Then they fall asleep, and Bluey sees a unicorn in the distance. And I don't know if this is Maria or Maria's
I think
friend.
it is Maria.
Yeah. And Bluey becomes enraged and he shoots this unicorn in the foot. And the other unicorn attacks Bluey. So he attacks, Bluey attacks them. And one of the unicorns attacks Bluey and tips him over this like ledge. And he falls and he like bumps his head all the way down. And when Tubby calls after him, he can't see him, and you know he probably assumes that he's dead. I don't know if that one of the sergeants or lieutenants or one of the military leaders, Pom Pom, says that they have to watch the border, and there are a bunch of soldiers who are like on this like border patrol, and they find Bluey, and he's all fucked up in this water, and so now he's in the military hospital and he's bandaged head to toe. He's lost a hand. And he's, his whole face is covered in bandages. And his father comes, and his father has a bright holy book, and he says that being alive is a gift from God, and your brother wasn't so lucky. So they assume Tubby has died. Then the soldiers come in, and they say they're going to give him the position of lieutenant, and he'll make a good symbol for everybody. And he's like, I can't face people. My face is all fucked up. And they're like, that's okay. And they bring him a mask. So we find out that Tubby is still alive in the forest. And he sees a pink and a blue bird, pink and blue birds, and they're cuddling, and he's all very sad. And he's collecting berries, and he's giving some to his squirrel friends. And then he goes to this cave, and he's been nursing this unicorn back to health.
It's so sweet.
It is so
sweet. He helps it, puts a cream on, and he gives it a hug, and then they fall asleep together in the cave. It's there's so few sweet moments in this movie. They stand out so much.
Yes. So Bluey now has respect, and he's got this he's got this military jacket, and he's got his rainbow pin, and he's
he does look cool.
He does look pretty awesome. He's in mask and everything, and all the soldiers are he knows the magic forest, and the higher ups are we need a hero. And the captain says, it's good to have false heroes with clay feet, but unbeknownst to them, Bluey has organized a coup. And so all the soldiers go in and they kill all the
and I thought this was such a good part, is because Bluey has these real plans to, because he's forest is a real problem. It's evil. We got to kill it. We got to destroy the forest, and then we'll kill the unicorns. And when he brings this up to the military people, they're like, no, the longer we stay having a war, the more we can be in power. And I just thought that was so good of they never wanted to be successful, right. It got to such a point that they were yeah, we can keep all these people subservient towards a common goal, and we get to just do whatever the fuck we want. And I was like, wow, that is, I felt like that was my favorite message in the movie. Because I think that's the best condemnation of war you could ever make, is the people in power are not the ones fighting, and they never will be,
Yeah,
and yet we're doing everything that they say.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't have to incur all the risks, and yeah, they're always going to be the ones that survive until a Bluey comes along and takes them all out. So now the war has begun in earnest. They're digging trenches. They're setting up barbed wire everywhere. They set the forest on fire, and the unicorns are oh, fuck, this is it. And so they're having sort of a council, and they're should we ask the simians for help? And one of them says, no, they're weird. They worship a formless idol who is not good for nature. And he is evil, and that evil will destroy the world. So Tubby's friend runs away, and it seems like the unicorns are really in trouble. And someone says the forest is bleeding. And Maria's mom says, we are the forest, and we will die with the forest. And there's a battle, and all the simians are watching. And there are real scenes of the battle intercut with scenes from the Holy Book. And Tubby watches horrified and chases after his unicorn friend. And he throws a torch. Now Bluey is on this he's on this hill, and he has a cannon. So they've been pulling out all of the ammunition. It's been escalating, and the final thing is they have this huge cannon. So Tubby throws a torch at Bluey, and the cannon blows up everyone, and everyone's dead except for Tubby's unicorn friend, Tubby, and Bluey. So now it's down to basically the brothers, and Bluey reveals his fucked up face, and Bluey pulls out a knife, And he says, I'm a monster. I always have been. It's all my fault.
They have like a nice reunion at first.
Yeah.
Because they're genuinely happy to see each other. And because he's about to kill like Tubby, but then Tubby, like he rethinks it, you know, but he gets really upset because then Tubby sees how hurt his unicorn friend is and goes over and gives it a hug. And that's when he like loses it.
Yeah. So he starts to advance with a stone and he bashes Tubby's head in, kisses the unicorn on the face, and then stabs it dead. And then he eats the flesh of the unicorn and he drinks the blood, and it makes him sick, actually. It weakens him. But then the last unicorn becomes a blob monster and it consumes Tubby and Bluey. And out of the blob, a human form emerges. And then all the simian creatures follow the human creature.
And this is where the movie lost me completely, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I really feel like, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox.
Okay.
I feel like the message of humans are the root of all evil is not helpful in any way. I feel like it's pretty defeatist, and I feel like there is stuff we could do. Like, we have fucked up the world in a lot of irrevocable ways, but like, we also have some, like, we could make it better, you know? And I feel like if you just have the idea of like, well, we're all just evil and this, all of it's just going to die. It's like, then it will, you know, it will just turn into a hunking, you know, pile of burning rock. You know, it's like humans undoubtedly have done so many fucked up things. I will never like not say or pretend that that's not true, but I feel like the message should be, we have the capacity to do that, and we also have the capacity to be good. And like, I just feel like, you know, it's like when people are like, oh, well, the world's gonna explode anyway, I'll just do whatever I want. And it's like, yeah, but that's not helpful. I think that's my opinion.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think humans are purely evil, but I do think that humans will be the destruction of the world. I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't like it. I don't think it's good, but we have already like created a situation in terms of the desecration of nature that we will not be able to live on this planet at a certain point, and that's because of what we've done.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that thesis. Like, yeah, I mean, and I mean,
I guess I feel like, where do we go from there then? It's like,
right.
If that's the thesis, it's like, but if you want things to be better, then where does that put us?
But it's a horror film. Like,
it's a horror film, but I feel like that's a pretty, again, I feel like it's an easy thing to say. It's easy to be like, well, and we're all evil and we're going to destroy the world. Okay, you know. And it's like,
I think it's like, we are our biggest fans. I mean, we often talk about how we're like top of the food chain or like the pinnacle of creation or something like that. Just like the bears thought that they were like, you know, the chosen ones or whatever. And I think it's just a further extension of that idea that when you think that you're special and the rules don't apply to you, then that's what leads people to, you know, fuck each other over and fuck over the planet. And yeah, that's what we do. I mean, I don't think it's, I don't, that's one way of looking at it. And I think it's perfectly accurate, you know, and I think you have a more optimistic view, and I'm glad of that, because I don't think that, and I do think I agree with you in a way that I think it is kind of simplistic to just say like, you know, the pinnacle of creation is actually like also the height of evil. And
yeah. Well, I guess just to me, I'm like, what's step 2? Is I'm thinking, well, we're still going to be here though. And things do have to change. And the biggest, besides like, nature, the biggest human victims of like climate change have no part to play in why it's happening, of people like people who live in places that are going to get overrun with water, and sink because of climate change. It's like they didn't have anything to do with it. It's like there were human reasons why climate change is happening, but I also feel like it's a bit of a privileged take to even be like, well, and it's going to happen because I don't know, thinking about people who don't even like cultures that don't even have like a huge industrial thing like how we do. It's like, what about them? I guess I'm thinking is like,
well, they will be the victims. But I mean, I don't get your point, because I mean, what it's saying is that humans are the cause of that.
No,
not individuals, not
and I agree with that. I guess I'm just saying and I'm not saying that messages can't be depressing, because they definitely can be, but I just think it's a bit like, okay, and what, and then what? Are we all just gonna fucking die? Okay, clap, clap, clap. That's so deep. I don't know. It completely lost me, where I was like, I want the message to be, we have done fucked up stuff. We can't that's the difference between, Wendell and Wild in this movie, is that Wendell and Wild is like, look how fucked up things can be. Look how fucked up the system is. And it is a very idealistic ending. Not many towns get that ending, if any. But the point is but these people did band together, and they did it because they had the chance. Okay, yeah, you can actually make a direct parallel of Kat saw the future and how fucked up it was going to be, and she was like, it's over, everything's over, we're fucked. And Sister Helly was like, you saw it, but you can change it. And I feel like I prefer that message, because that is actually the message that's going to help the children that exist now that have to inherit our earth,
And I think that's a good message for a movie that is probably directed more at children. And I think this movie is a movie for adults. And I don't think it's saying, so let's just throw our hands up and do nothing. It's like, look at us. Look at what we have done. Look at what we're doing. And I don't know. I mean, but he, the creator of the movie could be saying, and that's fucked up, y'all. And we need to do something about it. I don't, but right, because over. That's the culmination of, that's following, the line to its logical conclusion. So if we believe the propaganda, if we believe the religion, if we believe all this bullshit, that we should fight each other, that we are superior and other people are inferior, this is the conclusion that we will have.
But I feel like I would get that if they didn't actually say in the movie, the unicorns are like, the simians worship this god, and that god will be the end of everything. And so the movie is saying human bad.
Human bad, though. I mean, I don't. Yeah.
I agree with you that the Wendell and Wild is a movie directed at younger people, but that is a message that should be directed at adults, because I feel like it's easy. It's very easy for a lot of older people now, especially the people in power, to be like, I'm not going to fucking live through it. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And the point is you should give a fuck. And I don't think this movie inspires me to do anything other than hate myself.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess that's my point.
And I don't think it's I wasn't standing on my feet, applauding the ending. Yes, I've never thought of that before. That's a brilliant insight into human nature, because it isn't
I liked a lot of what they did before.
Yeah.
Except for the stuff with Bluey. I did think that was a bit okay. But I think it's a very bold thing to condemn religion in such an overt way. A lot of people are not going to like that. And again, I do not think that I do not think religion inherently is an evil idea, but it undoubtedly has been the tool to lead people to kill and hurt and subjugate so many, and continues to be. And that is a very real thing happening, like literally right now, that should be criticized, and war should be criticized. So it's like, I was so on board for all of that, because that felt more like shining a light on something and being like, let me paint it in this way so you see just how fucked up it is. But then it ends in such a like, meh, yep,
yeah,
and that's it.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's the deepest movie ever made. I think it does a lot of really creative things, and it helps us to look at our institutions in a critical way. And I think that I agree with you too. I don't think religion is inherently bad. And I don't, but I think that those religions like this one that have songs like, the only good unicorn is a dead unicorn,
Fuck.
or, we are the chosen ones and everyone else is like, somebody invited me to like their mega church one year for an Easter service. And that was the message of the service. Like, there are lots of religions in the world, but we are the best one because we have a savior who was resurrected from the dead. And I'm just like, oh, really? Like,
give me a break.
We're the best.
About
the Jews aren't as good as we are, and the Muslims aren't as good as we are because we got JC. And I'm just like, this is like this is like kindergarten, Christianity for babies, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's just like so basic and stupid. And also, people were like on their feet, like, yes, hallelujah. Like, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. That stuff is so, don't even get me started. Just the whole, I mean, I know what logic can you apply to people acting so illogically? There is none. And the point is that there is none. That is like a literal tool of like fascism. But like,
yeah.
But I don't know. I as a member of a group that is seen as like, evil incarnate, it's just so wild to be like, to have people be like, I fucking hate homeless people. I fucking hate this. I hate that. I hate you. You're going to hell, blah, blah, blah. I'm good though. I'm really good. Because I mean, I am.
I really, I teach my students a lot of different subjects, and we just got done with like Eastern religions. But first we talk about Western religions. And one of the questions I ask them is, if you grew up in a family that worshiped in a different way than yours did, what would you believe, at your age? And I swear to you, man, some people, not everyone, some people are like, I would still believe in the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm like, no, you fucking wouldn't.
Like, why would
why?
you? Why would you?
Why would that
happen? Because if they even begin to open up that door, they know everything else comes down. Like I feel like it's not smart, but in a way, like the brainwashing is so good at being like, if you even open that up, the devil, he's already won. And so they're like, nope, that door is going to stay closed. No, ma'am, I would be a Christian.
Now, I mean, to most people's credit, they can see that, like, well, of course, if I grew up in a Jewish family, I would be Jewish, and so it's not like by any means, but I would expect everyone to give that answer, and they don't. Like, some of them are like, somehow would have found the true word of the Lord, and I'm like, no, you fucking wouldn't, you fucking idiot, like, yeah, because you're a chosen one, because you're so fucking special.
You're so special. And it sucks because I feel like the idea of coming together every week for like a meeting to just think about stuff, think about life and whatnot, that is something I wish I had. Like, I wish I had like a community like that, where it's like, I feel like that's a healthy thing to do, and and the point of it in the original, back in the day, was like, hey, we're together, like let's let's meet with our neighbors, and this is what is pulling our community together. And just, it's so twisted now.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, again, it was, I'm not saying religion has been used for a very long time to, as a means of hurting others. Not just now, but it sucks that I do think if you take the very skeleton of the idea, it's a great idea that would probably benefit a lot of us. Not spirituality or religion itself, but like the action of like meeting and congregating and stuff. I think that's a great idea.
But even in the, like, I don't know if it's the Mahabharata, but like some ancient text that's like 5,000 years old or more. But it's like the seed of war is in the idea that my child is superior to yours. I mean, and that's just what it kind of comes down to. And then if you weaponize that, then,
yeah.
And I think it's so funny because we didn't plan this. We're just like, you wanted to do Wendell Wild, and, I wanted an international animated film. And they both talk about religion.
Yeah.
I just think it's like wild, No
is
pun
it
intended.
Wendell Wild?
Yeah. Let me do the letterbox.
Okay.
What does Letterboxd have to say about it? Evelyn Rose, trans flag, gave it 5 stars. I watched this one during my math class, and it's pretty interesting instead of math class.
What is related to math?
Charlie M. Acorn gave it 5 stars. This movie hurts my heart. Hate My Wife gave it 5 stars. A masterfully taught lesson of the dueling nature of beauty and brutality. Top of the line animated movie for me personally, and think everyone should watch this. The art is amazing and the story is provocative, and this is truly peak. Alberto S. Cazorro gave it 5 stars. Maravillosa. Pablo gave it 5 stars. A beautifully animated anti-war piece of cinema with cute bears, religious-inspired lore, family trauma, disturbing imagery, and a great story to tell. This was simply masterful. But Baba Booey 26 gave it a 0.5 star. Nihilistic, hateful, mean-spirited edgelord garbage that thinks it's way smarter than it actually is. Genuinely one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Just miserable. Elfie gave it a 0.5 star. The fact that this was so gorgeously animated and the opening so stunning can make the 4chan tier garbage that follows all the more insulting. Thought my eyes were going to roll into my skull at the ending. I can't remember the last time I despised a movie this much. Business Person gave it a 0.5 star. It's like a shitty animated version of Platoon with gay teddy bears. Elha gave it a 0.5 star. Wants to say so much so hard, but all it manages to actually say is, quote, war bad, and haha gay, and, quote, what if man and religion wrong, actually? Visually, it's stunning, though, so you can thank the animators for that, a bunch of which I promise you are very much gay. The animation is not alone for children, but this film is not an example of the contrary. Homophobia is not the sign of a mad person.
What?
What?
What does that mean?
Okay, the animation is not for children, got that part. But this film is not an example of the contrary. Homophobia is not the sign of a mad person.
I don't.
So it's sane to be homophobic?
I don't understand.
If that's what you mean, Elha, then fuck you.
I know. I think they have a positive message. I think that what they're saying is like, I don't know what they're saying, but from what they said earlier, I feel like they're not saying that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, are we back?
I just lost Matt. Hey, WoHos, it's Mom. Not sure what happened at the end of that recording. I lost Mac, and since we had been working on the episode for close to 3 hours, I decided that was probably a sign from the podcast gods. So we weren't able to complete all the questions, but you get it. You get how we feel about it. Wanted to thank you for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, we will be looking at movies about haunted houses. We will be reviewing The Others from Spain and Poltergeist 1982 from the US. We would welcome your support in the form of a 5-star review or thumbs up on your preferred listening platform. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, we need some love over there, and you could now subscribe to the podcast. But look, we will just settle for you just telling all your friends all about us. If you'd like to find Mac on the internet, his handle is Macaritaville. And remember, WoHos, we love you, and don't go into the basement.